Welcome back to another fucking live. We're going to be watching the White House press briefing today. So let's, why even put it off? Yeah, I'm just going to tighten this up just a little bit. You know, it needs to be loose so I can breathe, but it also should look like it's on, at least. You know? Let me make sure I've got my comments all working here. Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Sup, Mad Money? Let's get going. Let's get the show on the road. See what craziness is going on. Thanks, you're great. Not allowed. I appreciate that. The only news channel you watch?
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special guest with us today who will speak momentarily. But first, I would like to begin with a message from the White House to the families of the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today and addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable tragedy, especially the parents who lost their children. Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes
AI addressed by Trump later. Should I go live for that too?
AI race, which is why today,
should we watch that?
Trump will announce a bold
Do you want to watch that? Would you watch that if I recorded it? You can watch it later.
America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon. On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the historic US-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other president has ever achieved. The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home.
See,
as President
it's the
Trump
result
said,
that people disagree
he will only lower tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products. If not, they will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market on the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people
released
on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably
pretty wild
delivered
Instagram
on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation is currently at its lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American workers accounting for all job gains. The president has put the economic needs of families and of workers first. He signed the largest tax cuts.
Is that Amy Schumer? No, that's Caroline Leavitt.
Including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for 2 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. The president has also,
liberals.
as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history.
I love Trump, but
the
eggs are
president
still
has
expensive.
also restored law and order to make America
let me know in the
safe
chat
again.
if eggs are still the same price for you.
Public. The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from the last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021. The president has also
gas prices have reached their lowest level since 2021. Are you still paying high gas prices where you are?
To modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world. The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored America's standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars. Again, all of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's nuclear program to end the war between Israel and Iran.
So people on Instagram and TikTok are saying that their gas prices are down.
GDP, and secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts.
That is true.
All of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We
Who
are
was
truly
the third?
just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people, while publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Wow, look at that chart.
Former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to
what are we looking at here, chat?
On the public and sabotage
secret Russia meeting.
President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless.
If you're not watching on YouTube, they're showing a graph of Obama being behind this Russia hugs. Hold on, wait, hold on. Stop. We're going to go back to that. Let's just pause on this for a second. Because you can't see the whole thing. Let me fix that. This is a little wild. This is on the White House. Look. If this is true, then this is a conspiracy, but they didn't have to make it look so much like a conspiracy theory, right? When someone sends me a big chart of like 100 different things that like kind of don't connect to something, but if you connect 10 other things to it, then it does. It's typically... I'm not saying it's false. I'm just saying it looks crazy. I just wanted to pause on that for a second.
Politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to
Thank you, Juniper. Oh my God! Shout out to Juniper for the $50 donation. It keeps the show, literally keeps the show going. So thank you very much.
Was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning.
Juniper, I need you to contact me directly in a private chat with your address so I can send you a hat or something.
In this scam, including former CIA
Anyways, what do you guys think? Do you think Obama
Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director
is behind the whole Russia
former Deputy Director
hoax?
Andrew McCabe, and many others?
I'll put that in quotes because there's some discrepancy over things that are left out of Tulsi Gabbard's report.
There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time.
That's
The
the
Russia
part.
hoax was
That's
a
the part
blatant
people
lie,
don't quite agree
all
on.
ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and
Yeah,
leaked
Jake
to
Lopez
the
is
news
saying
media to
that
launch a
this is to
years-long
steer
witch
attention
hunt
away
against
from the
President Trump and his
e-files.
first
Do you guys, what do you guys think about that?
Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets. And some even had their
Disgustingly
lives
smeared.
destroyed because of this vicious lie.
Disgustingly
The president's first 2
smeared.
years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources.
I only laugh
time, and
because
political
the Trump
capital
administration
were
is
spent
constantly
having to
smearing
debunk
people.
these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared
A lot of people
with
think that she's
defamatory
lying.
lies. President Trump was
To be
right
clear,
from the
she's
beginning
not
about all of
lying.
this, and we are
She's
grateful
reading
that justice can be served.
Lies. If you
Now,
believe
we
that.
have
If you
even more
believe
damning
that it's a
evidence
lie,
implicating those who tried to
she's not
sabotage
making
the
it up.
elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that
I saw
Russian
Hunter's
President
rants.
Vladimir Putin wanted to help.
I would have done a watch along for
elect
Hunter's
President
rants,
Trump
but
in
it's 3 hours
2016.
long.
And in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the
Didn't
New
he
York
just say
Times
that about
and the
some other
Washington
scandal?
Post,
The auto
were
pen.
ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes.
I thought the
for
auto
their
pen was the
perpetuation
biggest
of
scandal
this
in U.S.
hoax.
history.
It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this.
Oh,
and then
really?
We'll open it up for questions afterwards. Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Tulsi's gonna double down today.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern.
The stunning
to every American.
revelations,
This is not
okay.
about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic.
Someone
and
called her
American voters
Cruella.
having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence.
It's not. I'm not
that
laughing
how
because she's
President
evil. I'm
Obama
laughing
and his
because she's got the
national
stripe, the
security team
Cruella
directed
stripe
the
in her
creation
hair.
of
I
an
think
intelligence
Rogue,
community
personally, from
assessment
X-Men.
that they knew was false.
Got kind of
They
a
knew
rogue
it
thing
would
going
promote
on.
this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that
Do we know
released
why
today
she does
shows
that?
in great
Is that a
detail
choice?
How they carried
Was she
this out.
scared really
They
badly one
manufactured
time, or does
findings
she
from
die it
shoddy
that way?
Sources. They suppressed
Or does it
evidence
grow
of
that way?
credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the
Senator
comments.
Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence Report, which investigated the claims that were made by
Just to be clear, Trump
ordered by
still
President
won.
Obama and published in January of 2017.
And
First,
then
Putin's
so the
principal
same
interests relating to the
doubts
2016
about
election were to undermine faith in
the
the U.S. democratic
faith in
process,
the
not
democratic
show any
process.
preference of a
Trump
certain
did this.
candidate.
Trump's administration
This
undermined
report shows
people's
Putin
faith
held back
for
leaking-
better or worse, right or
held
wrong,
back
whether you
from
agree or
leaking
not. He
compromising
undermined the
material
faith,
on Hillary
the
Clinton prior to
people's
the
faith
election,
in the
instead
election
planning
process.
to release it after the
That's what
election
they
to
did.
weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department
Right.
officials
So, like,
offered in
she's
exchange for
proving
supporting
what everybody
Secretary Clinton's
else is
campaign
saying
for
right
the
now.
presidency,
She's talking
significant
about
increases in
the
financing
evidence,
from
the
State
criminal
Department.
evidence that Russia got by
They also
hacking
had documents
into
that
Hillary
showed
Clinton's emails
patronage of the State Department
and
to State Department
Democratic
employees
Party
who would go and support
files.
Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign.
Thank you, Johnny.
There were high-level DNC emails.
I'm not
that
gonna
detailed
read
evidence
that out
of
loud,
Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional
but everybody
problems,
can see it.
uncontrolled fits of
Um,
anger, aggression, and cheerfulness.
You know, you can
And
say
that
whatever you
then
guys want
Secretary
when you
Clinton
do a
was
super chat.
allegedly on
So
a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers.
I'm not going to stop you.
Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence. and
But she's
relied on
talking about
dubious
Russia
government
hacking
sources
into the
to create a
DNC
contrived
and
false
Hillary's
narrative that Putin
emails,
developed a quote-unquote clear
which was then
preference for Trump.
used to interfere with
Brennan
the
and
election
IC misled
by
lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to
right
assess,
by
quote-unquote,
by
Russia's
changing public
plans and
opinion by
intentions,
putting it
falsely
all over the
suggesting that
internet.
this
Like that's
dossier
what they're
had
talking
intelligence value
about.
when he knew
That's
that
what
it was
Obama was
discredited.
talking about.
The
that they were
intelligence
doing.
community excluded significant
Now, I've heard a lot of people
ignored
move the
or
goalpost,
selectively
of course,
quoted
talking
reliable
about whether or
intelligence that
not
contradicted
Trump
the intelligence
colluded with
community
Russia to
assessment's
do
key
that.
findings,
But that's not what
Putin's
she's
alleged
talking about.
support for
She's
Trump,
not talking about
including this intelligence
refuting that.
reporting,
She's talking
would have
about there
exposed
being
the ICA's
no
claim
Russia
as
interference.
implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the US election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence
gotta
community
turn that
with the
down.
subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment.
Johnny says, when Trump said he loves the uneducated, who knew he was talking about kindergartners?
The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political
Unusual
appointees, especially
directives.
former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee oversight report also shows how later that same day, on December
I'm pretty
9th,
sure Obama
Brennan
responded
ordered the
to this.
publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was quote-unquote unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's oversight report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, "We don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected." Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, "We assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances, when possible, by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him," end of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true. With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than the discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, "Contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex. John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway." CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, "The director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, 'Yes, but doesn't it ring true?'" Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, "There is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election." This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received, which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, "I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome." This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment.
This one.
That leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence, to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election, and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Trump posted this.
Thank you, Tulsi. And
Yesterday.
we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time for this topic. She will leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former
The
President
evidence,
Obama?
correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released.
Tracy, you're not crazy. This was
directly
all in the
point to
news at the
President
time.
Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you in the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals who are some still working within these agencies today that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn. That President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And is your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence and you will know the truth.
John.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that
they call it undermining his presidency, but they just didn't agree with what he wanted to do.
Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question with what intelligence agencies around the world have said about Russia, that they have tried to influence elections in the United States, in France, in Germany, in the UK. Do you disagree with that? Do you believe that Russia is a bad actor as it relates to trying to influence elections?
I'll point back to the intelligence that President Trump has ordered declassified, that we have declassified and released, that the intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what the Obama manufactured intelligence document alleges, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected. Again, going back to the most important point here, with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election.
I mean,
and
they did
therefore
hack a bunch of
subvert the will
Democrats
the
and no
American people who
Republicans.
chose to send him to the White House.
Reagan.
I'd say that that's worth a probe or two.
You laid out that the documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish a December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view that that information was kept out of the briefing because then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary Clinton campaign with the Steele dossier.
One more. Maybe either for you or Caroline, the president said yesterday that Obama committed treason. Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
Look, I can speak
Oh.
to the president's feelings on this matter.
Is he
spoke to all of you
protected
yesterday
by
in the Oval
the
Office,
thing
but I
that
also
Trump
spoke to him about
made
this
sure
this
he was
morning.
protected by?
And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this, and I would just add,
I don't think anything she
based on
described
everything
betrays the
director,
Constitution.
has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this
So
hoax,
she's not really
Clapper,
answering the question
Andy
here.
McCabe, James
The question
Comey,
was,
and many others have been hired by
shouldn't
major
Obama be
networks in this
protected
room
since
to go
Trump
on television
made-
and continue to
made a
spew
court
these
case
lies,
that all presidents
knowing
should be
that they are
protected
lies. And
indefinitely,
if you all
even after
recall,
they're
just
not president
flashback
anymore.
to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies, and it led to impeachments. It led to the division of our country. Unfortunately, so many Americans, from listening to outlets in this room, believed in these lies. And it's a complete scam, and it's a scandal, and the president wants to see accountability.
I'll say I've watched a lot of liberals talk about why they don't like Donald Trump, and him being a Russian asset is not on the list.
Undercuts the widely accepted conclusion.
I can't remember the last time I heard that get mentioned as a reason why people don't like Donald Trump.
Like former President Obama and also others on the Hill who say that the administration is conflating apples and oranges here, conflating allegations of actual hacking of voter machines and allegations of interference generally.
I think it's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal and negative action towards the American people and our democratic republic. The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released. Again, showing that Russia has took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular candidate.
You've long been an opponent of weaponization in government. How do you respond to criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president is just more weaponization and this is a potential race to the bottom?
I think that's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic.
That was a good spin.
Which has been undermined.
That was a good spin,
by President
Tulsi.
Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it would and could then be used for all of the actions that came after.
And I would just add, there needs to be accountability for that weaponization, Phil, that we've seen. And no one has been a victim of the weaponized government more than President Trump, not just because of this political scandal. You all recall his house was raided. So I think, it's very disingenuous for people to say, how dare they speak of former President Obama about this based on evidence and based on intelligence, when the former President of the United States, Donald Trump's home was raided, when he was forced to sit in a Manhattan courtroom and many other courtrooms across the country for crimes he never committed, when he was impeached and indicted, and the entire country witnessed that. That's the weaponization of justice. Now the president is back because the American people see the truth. Nearly 80 million Americans reelected him back to this office, and he believes that we need to have justice and accountability. And I think the nearly 80 million Americans who reelected him agree with that. Caitlin.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard, just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable.
Whether or not you believe
Caroline speak
Obama
to, Secretary Rubio.
pushed this narrative, which he may have.
First on Secretary Rubio, he put out
I mean,
a
he
statement
did.
in 2020 following
And,
that Senate
whether or not
Intelligence
you
Committee
believe he
report.
did
And
it
he said
knowing
what they found
that
was
it was
troubling.
false
He
or
found
not.
irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director
There certainly
of National
weren't any
Intelligence just
manufactured
confirmed for all of you,
documents.
that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos.
That's
But what's
that's the one part
outrage
that
in
I
this,
can't
that
find
Secretary
evidence
Rubio
of.
did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians.
See,
All
that
of
this
these
is the
lies,
part.
that were never true.
This is the
And he
moving
also
of the
said at that
goalpost,
time he
because
discovered
that
deeply
is
troubling
not
actions
part of
taken by the
Tulsi's
FBI
report.
under Comey,
The
particularly
collusion
their
part,
acceptance and willingness to
not
rely
part of
on
what
the
she
Steele dossier
disproved.
without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
She's killing it this
Does anyone
morning.
else have questions for Director Gabbard? And then we'll turn it over to a couple other questions. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Director Gabbard. 2 follow-ups on questions
Whew.
that have been asked.
She's
You
ready.
mentioned the previous
She's
DNIs.
ahead or at her all.
First term. One of them reports to you right now, if I'm not mistaken, John Ratcliffe. So have you not spoken to him about why this information was not declassified during the first term?
He was in that position for a very short period of time. The work that began back then, we have picked up and absolutely completed. We are continuing to investigate this. Additional whistleblowers are now coming forward because they see an opportunity for the truth to come to light. And as Caroline
Is
said,
that
for
the
real
opportunity they
accountability, to be brought forward. The accountability is the essential part of this. We can show the truth, reveal the truth. The accountability needs to occur to be able to start to restore that trust in the integrity of
What
our
do you think,
of our
chat?
democracy.
And then just
Let me know.
you
Is did Obama
DOJ,
did
but the
Obama
statute of
and the
limitations on
Clintons
conspiracy is 5 years.
just
so what else could they
make up
possibly
all the
pursue
Russia stuff?
besides treason?
I
at
think
this
that's a
point?
great question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're providing all of the evidence, all of the intelligence that we have, both redacted and unredacted versions, referring it to the Department of Justice and the FBI.
We'll take one more. Charlie, go ahead.
How credible was the information about Hillary Clinton's health? The report said that it was from DNC, sourced from the DNC. Have you seen that information? Do you think that maybe Russia was overemphasizing what they had?
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as
They would
President
tell us.
Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information, some of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report, prior to the election to help Donald Trump win. They specifically withheld what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
And if I may, on Jeffrey Epstein, can you rule out that he was connected in some way to any kind of intelligence, either foreign or domestic?
I haven't seen any evidence or information that reflects that. If anything comes before me that changes that in any way, support the president's statement loud and
Yeah, I
clear.
wanna know what you
If
think.
any credible evidence comes forward, he wants the American people to see it.
That helps me do what I do.
Director Gabbard, we
I wanna
thank
know
for
what
your
you
time
think.
today. I know you're a busy woman,
Thank
so
you.
we'll let you get out of here, but thank you so much.
Maybe you don't know, but
Okay.
I don't tell
know
people what to
there's,
think. I just
many
make sure
issues
they have
going
all
on
the
today
info.
across the world and here at home. If you have any
Then
other
you
further
tell
questions,
me
I'm
what
happy
you
to take
think.
them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So, the Japan trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're going to see by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the Philippines as well. The president announcing all three. He came in
Indonesia.
as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters to countries around the world. But just to reiterate this Japan deal, for those at home who may have missed it, Japan will now pay a 15% tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24% that what they initially had. Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced to 15%, but the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S. will retain retain 90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion fund. This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550 billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key sectors in American-made products that have
is
really
a big
faced
deal.
very strict
That
tariff
is-
and non-tariff barriers prior.
That's,
so,
like,
thanks
separate
to the
from
president,
tariffs.
Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods.
I don't
This
know.
is big news for our tech companies.
It's hard to say how much
and
money
our
that will
farmers
actually
as well.
bring in,
On Monday, the Treasury
bring
Secretary spoke
into
to,
the
Stockholm
U.S.,
to
but
talk to the Chinese
it is good.
delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks forward to continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The president has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
If I may,
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas again.
Good to see you, Olivia.
Good to
I
see
haven't
you.
seen you since the campaign trail.
It's good to see you. He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes, Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Wickoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the president and Special Envoy Wickoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released.
Somebody said they thought Japan, China, and Korea are making their own deal.
The Epstein grand jury materials to
Yeah, they are.
The president wants the
What
administration
do you
and
think
Department
was
of
said
Justice
that?
to appeal that ruling?
That was just
Doesn't mean
breaking
that.
as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the president about it.
Japan made
I
a deal.
understand there are two other
China's
requests from the
making
Department
a
of
deal,
Justice that
maybe.
are ongoing.
They're talking.
But
South
I'll
Korea,
let the president speak to
nothing
whether
yet.
he wants to see an appeal, and the Department of Justice, I'm sure, can give you a statement on that as well.
And is he supportive of the effort to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned that earlier this week.
The president spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
What is the accountability that you would like to see if this current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to prosecution, immunity? So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
We would agree
Stephanie.
President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the Japan deal, are sectoral tariffs now up for negotiation with trading partners? And in a similar note, are these negotiators asking for investment funds, sort of like what Japan had agreed to?
As for sectoral tariffs, I understand that the president continues to be in talks with our Secretary of Commerce. We have made commitments on various sectoral tariffs, as you know. The Department of Commerce has initiated studies to then move forward with implementing those sectoral tariffs. So I would defer you to them for further comment. Meredith.
I wanted to ask if the White House has any update on the Commerce Department employee who's been detained or banned from exiting China, and if there are any efforts to get him out.
I can assure you and the American people that the administration is actively monitoring the situation and engaged, but typically we don't comment on individual cases like this as we are sorting them out. Sure.
Yes.
Behind you, Dr. Harper. Sorry. Go ahead to the lady sitting down in the blue. Yes.
Okay.
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Caroline.
Poor
Also
Dr.
calling
Harper.
vote on Center Square.
Never getting called off.
So Republicans in the Senate today said that they are pulling back on legislation to impose sanctions on Russia after the president said he wants to act unilaterally. Can you elaborate on what the president intends to do?
Look, the president has been in very close communication with his friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, on this issue. But the president has always maintained, he's the commander-in-chief and the president for a reason, and he has been deeply involved in this conflict since the beginning. And so any decisions that are made with respect to sanctions, the president wants to reserve that authority and that right to himself. Jasmine.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions for you. The first on AI. Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with Elon Musk's AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract with Roth.
I'll talk to him about it, yes.
And my second question, just, obviously the developments with the Epstein case with the judge, but I wonder,
That was
has
interesting.
the White House Counsel,
I wonder if that'll get
the
glossed
DOJ
over.
explored any other documents that could be released to the public that don't have to do with that grand jury testimony?
To my knowledge, the Department of Justice has moved forward with the request to unseal that grand jury testimony, and as you know, they have also moved forward with interviewing Ms. Maxwell, which I believe will be taking place very soon. Go ahead. Sure.
That'll be
Thanks,
interesting.
Caroline. I have a question about Paul Ingracia, the OSC nominee who faces a Senate committee hearing tomorrow. Tom Tillis said that he wouldn't vote for Ingracia if a vote came to the Senate floor. 24 worker advocacy groups have said that they don't support his nomination. What is the White House planning to do to sort of turn the tide or convince legislators that they should vote for him?
The White House is
Could you
always in
imagine me in there
communication
with these people?
Members of both the Senate
I'd be
and the
terribly
House, and we
uncomfortable.
stand by the president's nominees. Sure.
In connection with the Mueller investigation, a grand jury indicted 13 Russians. President Putin has said he will never extradite those men. Given the new information that Ms. Gabbard has found, what's the administration's position on that case? Should those charges be dropped?
I don't have an update for you on that case, but I'll check in with the National Security Council and our team will get you something. Sure.
Thank you so much. So Fannie Willis and Jack Smith separately, they both charged President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. And now it turns out we're confirming that Obama and his cronies were doing that the whole time in 2016 on a massive scale, falsifying documents and having their intel agencies do this. What does this say about the 2020 election? And also, what's your thoughts on the irony here?
There is a lot of irony, especially for the party of
It's just so much
the Democrat
irony.
Party, who claims to be for democracy.
Oh.
We often heard throughout the 2024 campaign they were calling this president a threat to democracy. And now I think the declassification of all of these documents proves that they were indeed the true threat to democracy. And as I said repeatedly today, there needs to be justice and accountability.
I'm not
for that.
saying
You
one
all
is
will hear
more or
directly
less
from
a
the
threat to
president's leader this
democracy,
afternoon at the AI summit here
but
in
they
Washington,
can
D.C.,
both
scheduled
be
to speak,
threats to democracy.
later
It's
in a
not
few
like,
hours. So you'll see you
if
all
they're
there.
the
Thank you
threat
very
to
much.
democracy, then Trump isn't. That's actually not a logical argument to make. They can both be threats to democracy. Okay, well, that's over. How do we feel, gang? How do we feel about all that? Are we still digesting? I get it. Huh. All right, well, people saying audacious and filled with hypocrisy. We're fucked. Yeah, that's possible. I feel like they scammed us. Who? Who? The whole government? For our whole lives? Hey, Dag the Dooley says, thank you, AK. Keep on keeping on, everybody. I love that message. I love that. That guy just paid $4.99 to thank me and give a positive message out to everybody. He said, just keep on keeping on. I love that. it's kind of my attitude towards everything. You know, people ask me how I can read all this stuff and report it every day without it affecting my mental health, and you just, you know, you keep going. What else can we do? Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you are watching on Instagram or TikTok, make sure that you subscribe to YouTube at youtube.com/Kellerman Comedy. Comedy with a K. That's so that you can see everything that's going on behind me and get notifications for when I go live. If you're following on YouTube, make sure that you are following on TikTok and Instagram. You know, there's gonna be special stories and random content there too. If you want to support the channel, please go to The Fork in News with the number 4. Support the Substack, theforkinnews.substack.com. All these links are in my bio. Thank you all, everybody. I hope you have a great day. And thanks for giving a shit.